You would not believe how many survivors of childhood trafficking I've talked to who have never been told that it wasn't their fault. Not by their therapist, not their support group, not anybody in their life. Me. Why are we not starting there? Let me tell you, once someone who's been carrying that weight for years hears that, it breaks my heart and lights me up every time to see them just... It's like you can see their chains breaking in real time. It's like you can see this sense of relief, especially when I walk them through the process of, if you had a kid that was that age, did they ever deserve that? Would it ever be their fault? Could a child ever consent or escape or get away from that? In what world would that be a child's fault? See, a lot of us are very hard on ourselves, but it's much easier for us to relate externally, or basically have compassion for another child. But for our inner child or our younger selves, we're often very hard on ourselves. This is usually from a lack of self-worth and from shame. So shame is actually a really big part of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and things that people experience only because they're carrying that ick with them, and that shame keeps them very separated from the outside world. Like if you think, oh, I'm a weirdo, no one's going to ever love me, I'm not worthy of love, all these things, it makes you very isolated, but it also makes you carry that burden as if it was your responsibility. So I want to give this message to anyone who has lived through any type of childhood trauma. Okay? Never was that ever your fault. You could not have done anything to avoid that. In no world would a child ever deserve that. And you can look me in the face and agree with that, but I want you to accept that for yourself. Whatever level of trauma or sad things you've been through, no child deserves that. I'm giving you permission to drop that burden. This is not your shame to carry. That's not your ick. That's not your shame. It's been an honor to work with some of these incredible survivors who have overcome and are now helping to heal other people, and seeing them thrive, seeing them being that example that yes, it's possible, and hell yes, we will reclaim our power. These are some of the most resilient, powerful human beings on the planet, and seeing a lot of them go from the journey of being very withdrawn and basically carrying all that trauma within, and it being very obvious that it's really weighing on them. Watching them not just survive, but thrive and even alchemize that pain into power, I promise you, it's the most rewarding experience you'll ever go through. Yes, the healing process sucks. It hurts. Like, I'm not trying to make it pretty. I'm telling you it's worth it. I'm also telling you it's your right. It's your responsibility. It's your power. Don't you dare let anybody make you feel like that's your shame. If they feel that way, like, honestly, they don't deserve your presence. Now, to be fair, I actually know a lot of people who are somehow comfortable with shaming survivors or treating them like they're broken, damaged goods, or treating them like they're somehow dangerous or harmful. I know people who have been fired from their jobs actually 3 times in a row because some random person found out about their childhood trauma, the things that they had survived as a child, and told their boss that they were unsafe to like work with kids or work at that job. Bro, this true story. And by the way, every single time the human being that thought this was cool was a middle-class white Christian woman. This is my message to anyone who's been through any type of childhood trauma, no matter what your age was, no matter what your age is now, no matter what happened, what intensity. Let's be very clear. It was not your fault. You could never have avoided that. If a predatory, fully grown adult wanted to take advantage of a child, there's no way a child can avoid that. There's no way you could have done things differently so that that wouldn't have happened. There's no way that that's your shame to carry. Let me also validate something. A bad person did a bad thing. This weak, pathetic piece of shit coward took advantage of a child. That weak, pathetic coward did not overcome you. You survived that shit for a reason. You're here for a reason. And it is your right to heal. It is your right to not give them any space in your life, no bandwidth in your thoughts. They are not allowed to interrupt your dreams or your mood or your relationships. They are not allowed to determine how you feel or the way you live your life. That's your choice. You get to decide the extent to which you allow yourself to heal. I promise you it's possible. I promise you I have seen so many examples of people who have been through things you cannot even imagine as children, and they are thriving now. I also talk to so many of them who still internalize that shame, and I wish I could just press a button and help them release it, but that's an internal process. That's something only you can decide to do. I want you to give yourself grace. I want you to realize it takes time. And if you're ever hard on yourself, if you ever have those negative thoughts, I want you to think of another child. Whatever age you were that the terrible things happened to you, I want you to think of another child that age. Think of a bad thing happening to them. How dare you say it's the child's fault? How dare the child feel guilty for that? How dare we let children grow up with that shame? And honestly, how dare therapists don't start with that understanding that it's not your shame to carry. Healing is a process. It's not linear. There's no start and finish line and yay, we're done. It is a lifelong process, but I promise you it's worth it. I promise you that if you don't heal, you are going to continue giving those people more bandwidth in your thoughts than they deserve. They don't deserve any more space. They've already taken that from you. You've suffered enough. You do not need to continue suffering. We get to decide whether or not we want to carry that shame or hold on to that trauma or the anger or whatever it is that's keeping us there. I could give so many examples of the people that I've worked with. Some of them will remain unnamed. Some of them are thriving. I want to give a shout out to CP, badass survivor. Bro is rocking the fucking world. He's building the first boys-only survivor homes. He wrote a best-selling book. He toured the United States with other inspirational people that are changing the game, that are inspiring people, that are challenging communities to take action, that are challenging politicians to do some fucking shit. You would not believe how much this man is thriving. And I'm not saying every day is perfect. I'm saying he gets to be a father. He gets to enjoy his children. I'm saying his countenance, his energy is completely different than it was just a few years ago. He was actually one of the first people that I get to tell face to face on TikTok that was not your fault. And I swear, I actually have that video clip somewhere. I saw his journey and it's the most beautiful, amazing thing. I could give you so many other stories of people who have chosen healing. I'm never going to pretend like it's easy, but I'm going to challenge you to make it your responsibility. You don't need the people who broke you to fix it. You don't need permission. You don't need all these like fancy things. You just need to give yourself the permission to release that shame. It starts with that. And hey, no one's told you this before. You've survived some shit that most people can't comprehend. That weak, pathetic coward tried to take advantage of you, but you won. You're here. You're here for a purpose. And that anger inside of you is because you're meant to fight. I'm proud of you.